For this recipe, you want to make sure your starter is active, so make sure you feed it about 12 hours prior to mixing your dough. So to start, we're going to combine all the ingredients into the bowl, which is your milk, the sourdough starter, salt, honey, and all-purpose flour. And I always like to stir together the wet ingredients before I add my flour in. Just helps things to incorporate a little bit easier. So after you get your flour into the mixing bowl, just use the spatula to combine all the ingredients really well. And you can see they'll start to come together. So the next step in this recipe is to knead the dough, and you can do this by hand or you can do it in a stand mixer. But it only takes about 5 minutes, so I just do this by hand. It's really, really easy. Just add a little bit of flour to your work surface and just use the back of your hand to knead the dough, and it's going to come into kind of this nice smooth ball. And just take that and place it right back into your bowl and cover it, and you're going to let that sit on the counter overnight. So the next step is when you get up in the morning, you're going to want to cut the muffins out. And you take a piece of parchment paper and line your baking sheet and just sprinkle on some cornmeal. This is going to help those muffins from sticking to the parchment paper. And then flour your work surface. And then take that dough and just very gently turn it out onto that floured surface. I'm using my hands, but you can use some type of pastry scraper if you have one. You just want to be really gentle with it. And once you get that out of the bowl, take a little bit of flour and sprinkle it on top. And then just use your fingertips to press the dough out until it's about 1 inch thick. So once you have that pressed out, you're going to take a round cutter and cut out the muffins and just place them right on that baking sheet. Now, once you have all these cut out, you're going to sprinkle the top of those with more cornmeal. And you're going to cover that with a tea towel and let those rest at room temperature for about 1 hour. So after those have had a chance to rise for an hour, we're going to go ahead and cook them up. So you'll want to have a non-stick skillet that has a lid, and you'll want to heat your skillet on a very low heat. And we're going to cover these while they cook, and that is so the inside can cook evenly without the outside being overcooked or burnt. So just make sure there's some space between those. Cover them up and set your timer for 4 minutes. Once that 4 minutes is over, you're going to take a spatula and very gently flip those over. And then once you have them all flipped over, you can cover those back up and put your timer back on for another 4 minutes. And you'll see once these flip over how light and golden the outside of those are. And that's what you're looking for. So do not turn your stove up too high. You could see how they've risen and just got nice and golden on the outside. So set that timer for another 4 minutes, and this is what they're going to look like when they're done. Now I'm cutting this one while it's still a little bit warm, but you'll probably want to let it cool off before you cut it, and then that's when you can go ahead and toast it